Hey there, you found Cameras and Car Seats, the podcast for photographers who are tired of being told to hustle harder while trying to remember if you grabbed diapers at your last Target run. I'm Jamie, your destination adventure elopement photographer who somehow manages to adventure with couples while raising tiny humans.
And I'm Alex, holding down the Lincoln logs in the Midwest traditional wedding scene, proving you can crush those weekend weddings and still make it to family dinner. If you're editing in the pickup line, scheduling client calls during nap time, or just trying to figure out how to run a profitable photography business without sacrificing your family life, you're in the right place. We're dropping real, actionable advice that actually works for mom photographers.
No bro marketing, no toxic hustle culture, just two photographer moms keeping it real about making this whole business thing work while raising our families. So grab your watered down iced coffee.
Ignore that pile of laundry for another hour or day.
And let's dive into today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to Cameras and Car Seats. So today on the show, we have Alex. Alex is incredible. She is a traditional wedding photographer, busy mom to three, and also still owns a coffee shop right now. And I want to ask her all the questions on how the heck she finds time to do all of this and just like the favorite things about juggling both motherhood and traditional weddings, and honestly just picking her brain a little bit more about everything she loves about weddings. So Alex, can you just like say hi, introduce yourself?
Hey, hi, I am Alex. I am a traditional Midwest wedding photographer, mom of three girls. And we also just purchased a homestead, an acreage where we're building that up. And we do also currently own a coffee shop, which we are in the works of selling that. But my husband will be roasting still. So he couldn't let that. Once you get a bite of entrepreneurship, you just can't let it go.
That is like, honestly, it's so true because I love Daniel's coffee beans. Side note.
Dude, so good.
But okay, so I just want to ask you, which is so funny. You mentioned your homestead and I'm like, yeah, my girl is the traditional through and through between like your weddings and your home life. But if you were to like describe your client, like what are your people? Who are you serving?
Yes. My couples are the like down to earth, carefree. They love family. They love tradition, but they're also chill. So I love like big celebrations. Here in the Midwest, a traditional wedding is like 250 to 300 plus people.
Oh, that's so true.
They're big. Okay. You're inviting your mom, you're inviting your mom's friend, you're inviting your mom's friend's friend's friend. They are big weddings.
Oh my gosh. Which is so funny and like completely opposite of what I do. But I don't mean to laugh because I was like, oh my gosh, you're so right.
Yeah, they are huge. I love them so much, but I think what I've learned to set myself apart and my brand apart is not only just traditional Midwest, but my couples are there because they care genuinely about their family and about each other. And their focus is on why they're there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like family, I feel like is such a heart of your business.
Yes.
I'm curious, what's like your booking process like? So how do your people find you? Like, would you say it's more word of mouth because you live here, or?
It started as client referrals and word of mouth. And I feel like I started, when you're in a small town, everybody knows everybody and everybody's friend groups are kind of the same. And so I kind of like ran through a few different friend groups. And then once I kind of stopped there, I had to then kind of put in the legwork of going to different venues and making different vendor connections. And then currently right now, my biggest thing is Google ads.
Okay. So I'm very curious. Like you mentioned networking. Do you have a favorite venue?
I have a few. So, and the funny thing about where I live is we don't live super close to a lot of venues here. So the like Cedar Valley, Waterloo, Cedar Falls area doesn't have a ton of wedding venues. So a lot of the time if I'm traveling, I actually kind of make a little triangle between Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. Ooh. And so I'm traveling kind of all over. I'm really close and love the people over at Ashton Hill. And they've got two venues there. And then I do also have some dream like wedding Midwest venues that I haven't shot at yet.
Tell me what's a venue on your bucket list that you are dying to shoot at?
Pinewood in Minnesota.
Oh yeah. I followed them on Instagram and I'm like, part of me would be like, hey, if you get a wedding there, can I be your second shooter?
And the Hutton House also in Minnesota.
Okay. I'm not familiar with the Hutton House.
It's funny because they're like two different vibes. So like Pinewood is like black, matte, and like the big pine trees and outdoorsy, and the Hutton house is like white, clean, big windows, but they both kind of give that luxury feel.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I could see that. Yeah. And okay. So when it comes to traditional weddings, do you have like a certain aspect of your business where it's like, okay, this is what I do? Like, do you have like a traditional work schedule is what I'm trying to ask. Like, so, since your weddings, are they typically on Saturdays, or like, what does your weeks look like during wedding season?
Yeah. So most of the time, most of my weddings are on Saturdays, but I would say in the last couple years, Friday and Sunday weddings have also become really popular. I try to not work on Sundays. Like, speaking of like tradition and family, we are a big like church family and heavily involved in that. And so I typically don't work on Sundays, but every now and then I will, kind of depending on the couple. Like if I think it's something I would really, really vibe with. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, yeah, it's Fridays and Saturdays. And then throughout the week, that's when I can spend time with my youngest, or I can be editing.
I feel like I love asking this question. What is fully booked for you?
Oh, this is such a good question. I used to get caught in the comparison trap because when I saw people saying like, oh, I'm fully booked, I thought that meant they had like 40 weddings.
Oh, you know? Yeah. No, I'm the same way. Like I'd be like, shit, if they're fully booked, am I late?
Right. Yeah. So for me, I actually never say if I'm fully booked or not.
I don't either, because sometimes I feel like that puts people off from wanting to reach out to me.
It does. And you never know like what you can or can't take. Like I've had some people reach out like 2 weeks beforehand and I happen to be available, or I have people who are reaching, like sometimes I have people that's like 2 weeks out and sometimes it's 2 years.
So give us a number. What's your normal number?
My normal number is about 20.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like that's pretty normal.
I feel good at about 20.
Especially because you have 3 kids. So if you were to take 30, would that totally throw off your schedule?
No, because I feel like I'm in a very unique situation. My husband does not have a 9-to-5. So I was able to become sole and only income for our family in like 2021. And because of that, I have more flexibility for him to be home with the kids, pick them up from school, help run them to practices. And he does have his roasting, but that's kind of done on his terms. Mm-hmm. And so I'm in the position where he says like, take anything and everything that you want and we'll just figure it out.
As long as you're happy, honey. Yeah. I love that. No, cause like I love asking that question just because I feel like you're probably the same way. I want people to feel like whether you are like you, where you're doing traditional Saturday weddings at the venues, like your fully booked is going to be totally different than someone else's. And not to get stuck in that Instagram, like feeling behind feel.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Okay. So I'm also curious, what's your normal packages look like? So like since you work where you live, yeah. what's a typical, onboarding or typical package?
So my average package and most common is going to be the 8-hour, because that tends to cover like the tail end of getting ready all the way up through the like first 30-ish minutes of a reception, like dancing into the reception. So that one is the most common. Otherwise, for 2025, I had a giant uptick in 10-hour wedding days with second shooters.
Okay.
So I would say I'm at about a 50-50 right now between those two.
I love that you're a data person too, because like it makes me happy because then you know what's working and what's not working. And that's why I like fully booked for you. You're comfortable at 20, yep. But like if you were to say have a big year and take 30, you could figure it out.
Exactly.
So with all of your packages, you mentioned like hourly, 8 hour, 10 hours. Do you do albums? Like, is there certain like things like what are your tangibles that you usually offer your clients?
Yeah. So I have albums as an add-on option. So they don't come like standard with any package. All of my packages include engagement sessions. They include timeline planning, consults, and then I also do 24-hour sneak peeks.
Ooh.
So that's a huge one for me because I know people are super excited, and I've just made it part of my workflow too. So that's one of my favorite things.
I mean, yeah, if you're planning for it, I feel like you'll figure it like
right.
If it's already in your mind that you need to do that, it's not just I hope I can. You are legit putting it in your mind, in your contract, it is part of your deliverables.
Exactly. I just plan like that moment when you get home and you import your images and you're saving them and you're backing them up. I take just an extra 15 or 20 minutes to grab what I know. Cause when you're shooting a session, you know, like when you click that button, oh, that's a good one.
That's the shot.
That's
Goodbye.
yep.
There's the money.
And I remember those. And so then when I get home and those are like importing to my hard drives and all of that good stuff, I will pull those into Lightroom and just edit like anywhere from like 10 to 20 and send those out.
If so, in your mind, starting your business, did it ever cross your mind to be like, I want to do destination work? Or have you always been like, this is me, this feels right? Like how did you know this was what you wanted?
So when I very first started my business, I thought I wanted to be a newborn photographer. And nope, no thank you.
We will refer that out.
And so when I attended a workshop, we did a couples session, and that's where I was like, ooh, okay, I love couples photography. And then from there, I took on some weddings, and I absolutely loved it. And I knew like, okay, weddings, that's what I'm doing. And then a couple years in, I ended up doing a few destination weddings. My very first one was in California. And then the following years I've done 2 in Florida, 1 in the Dominican. And I love those couples, love those weddings. But they're a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
And even when I'm used to like doing double headers and stuff, it's nice to like leave in the morning. And for the most part, depending on where I am,
it's like a different kind of
home.
work.
Yeah. Like I can come home, even if it's late. There are nights where I get home past midnight, but like I'm still getting home and knowing that like the next day I can completely turn my brain off.
And that's why you put in a podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But no, that like, I feel like that is huge, because whether you're just getting into the wedding world or you've been in the wedding world and you're curious about the other side,
yeah,
it's so different for your brain. Like just being able to rot from a wedding hangover.
Yeah.
It's everything.
I had my last destination wedding that I did, in the Dominican. So it's even like international, and, it did not go smoothly. And I'm glad that I planned accordingly. Like the wedding day was great. The couple was great. It was the traveling, like anything that could have gone wrong went wrong.
Yeah.
And so that's where I even did the whole, like, I'm going to fly there 2 days before just in case something happened. Something did happen. So like just all the things. And I was like, like this is amazing. It's worth it. Like all of that. But
this is the universe telling you that I thrive in my favorite venues within a few hours of my house.
Yeah. And something about me, I love the tradition, and like, I know that we've talked about Catholic weddings, and like Catholic churches are beautiful.
You do so good at Catholic weddings though. And I feel like you just, I don't know, like you know when someone's vibing.
Like, give me your dingiest church and I will make it look beautiful. Like I thrive on that. Like some of my couples are even like, I don't know, the church is nothing special. And I'm like, bet.
I mean, but there's so much like, I can respect the traditional wedding because it's just beautiful in the fact that it's tradition.
One of my favorite ones to shoot at that is full of tradition, and my couples that I've shot there, their like great grandparents got married there.
Exactly. Yes, that's exactly right.
The little brown church.
But like it has so many stories, and that's what makes it so pretty.
And it's so tiny. It's so like I love it. I just love it.
And if I recall, you had a viral TikTok of a couple who recreated a photo of their parents, or was it their grandparents?
It was her parents.
But like that kind of thing, that makes me tear up because like I like that.
Yes, yeah. So she took a picture and sent it to me of a picture that her parents took in the stairwell next to stained glass. It was black and white in this church. So they decided to get married in that church. And so I looked at the photo, had them stand there, recreated the whole thing. And it was really fun.
No. Okay. So I'm curious, with traditional weddings, do you feel like you're repeating the same timeline, or do you feel like it's still unique to your couples? Like what's one thing that you feel like you do with your couples?
So one thing I feel like there's a baseline. Like here's what the average couple does. And then some of my couples kind of fill in the gaps a little differently. But the one thing that I love about that is my couples typically have never done this before. They don't know what they're doing. And so to be that person that's like, here's what a typical day looks like and here's what you can do. And then also giving my personal recommendations. So my couples will maybe have a timeline made and I'll meet with them and I'll say, hey, you know, sometimes it might run a little more smoothly if instead of like eating dinner and then having the chaos and then cutting your cake, you should walk in from your grand entrance straight to your cake. Because then you don't have to re-get people's attention and then you don't forget about it.
So I want to build on that. When you first enter the wedding world as a photographer, you don't know what you don't know, but like what advice would you give photographers that want to enter the wedding world? Like, and they just don't know what to expect. Like, I feel like for the most part, we've been in this wedding world for so long. We know how long the ceremony is going to go. We know when the first kiss is going to happen. But like, if you were to go back to your first wedding season, what would you tell that photographer, like for what to expect on a wedding day, what you could do to help ease any stress on your couples?
Shadow any photographers that you can, or ask if you can second shoot. If you have shooting experience, ask if you can second shoot. And if you don't, ask if you can be their associate, or not associate, but assistant.
Their bag boy?
Yes. Ask if you can assist them, learn and gain knowledge and go, because even though they have a standard timeline, every wedding is also going to be different. And so just being able to put yourself and expose yourself to all the different situations, all the different venues, the different types of churches. Most of my weddings that I shoot, a lot of them are church weddings, but is it a Catholic wedding? Is it not a Catholic wedding? Is it, because those are different. Catholic masses can be anywhere from an hour to 2 hours long.
Versus a Lutheran. Lutheran's still pretty long, but I'm trying to think what's one's Presbyterian is usually only 20 minutes.
Exactly. So you can be looking at anything from 15 to 20 minutes to 2 hours. So kind of knowing what you're getting yourself into is huge.
Especially because look at us, we're bantering back and forth because we know how long certain ceremonies last, but there might be a brand new photographer that's I didn't know mass was 2 hours long and they're just not prepared for that. Or, I feel like me and you know it, but can you speak on the church rules? When you're photographing in a church, because some people don't realize there's respect and rules when it comes to the church.
Yeah. So most of the time I get pretty lucky when it comes to the churches that I go to where there's not too many, but there are kind of some standard rules across the board. And one of them is, depending on what church you're in, you cannot get up on the stage, the altar, the stage. And then in some of them, you can't get within a certain amount of feet. Sometimes they'll say, stay behind this doorway, and it may be 10 or 15 feet back from the ceremony space. So needing to make sure that you have the right lenses for those types of situations. And then the other big one too is no flash. You can never use flash, which on one hand is it can be a little harder in some of those churches, but usually in most churches, they've got some nice lighting and windows, things like that.
Is there a time that you found ceremonies usually always start? So if a newer photographer is oh, well, usually ceremonies are at 5 p.m. But in a church, there's usually Catholic masses. They're usually at 2 o'clock.
I was going to say 2 is probably the most common. I would say anywhere from 2 to 4 is probably the most common. But 2 and 3, I think is.
Because if you were to be talking to a newer photographer and they're about to shoot their first wedding, what advice would you give them on timelines and anticipation of moments?
Always know that things are probably it's not going to go exactly as the timeline says. And this is something that my couples know about me. If type B were a person, it would be me. And I tell my couples, I use my timeline as a checklist. Things are going to run over and things are going to run behind, and I roll with the punches. So if you're looking for somebody who's going to be commanding people to be doing something at a specific time, I'm not your girl. I will tell people obviously if things it's not I'm just going to let anybody go do whatever they want to do, but your day is just going to happen as it's going to happen. And that's just how it's going to be.
I want to pivot just slightly. I'm curious. So newer photographers, or seasoned photographers, when it comes to family photos, what's your process?
Yeah. Okay. That I forgot is another rule too. Usually you can't get into a church to shoot family formals until an hour before the ceremony. So
you got to be efficient.
Yes, you have to be efficient. And that is one thing family formals, once you can get through that on a wedding day, you can get through anything. If you can tackle family photos on a traditional wedding, you can handle anything.
And I'm curious, you can use lights during posed moments on the church. You're just talking about the flash rule during the actual ceremony.
Yeah, just during the ceremony, no. But during like the family formal, absolutely you can. And so a couple tips that I always go through with organizing that is when I send out my questionnaire, my couples will organize every grouping that they want by name. And then I will usually tell them also to appoint somebody a job as a photo assistant for me, because I don't have the superpowers to know everybody's name and relation. If I could have a superpower, that would be it, but I don't. So like having a family friend or something that knows, hey, I can go pull Jim and Steve and Belinda, like to photo taken.
Belinda.
Like that is super helpful. And if I don't have that, then I have names and I yell them out and we go quick.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I totally agree with you on there. You need, even though I feel like your style is very documentary, you need a family shot list with names of that couple's VIPs.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny because I feel like even though I shoot very like traditional, so to speak, weddings, my style is not necessarily traditional, except for the family formal part, because there's no other way to really do that.
Do you have like any advice for like if you were to get into the family photo section, like what advice would you give to your couples or to another photographer to make it easier?
Yeah. So having that list for sure is helpful. I also tell my couples to like only have a certain amount of groupings.
Okay.
So I'm not sitting there shooting 20 different groupings.
So you're telling your couples like, this is not an extended family photo shoot. This is immediate family, your VIPs. And then if they do want pictures with like, say, a million aunts and uncles, do you do that? What's the word? The reception. There we go.
If we have time during that family formal part, like I will go ahead and do those. Cool. But if we don't have time, then I will do different groupings at the reception. Or if the reception is like outdoors, I'll just walk around and ask if anybody wants photos.
Do you have like a favorite part of like one of your like a favorite part of the wedding day? Like what's a favorite anticipation moment that you're always looking forward to?
Definitely the sunset couples photos.
Okay.
Those are my favorite. I also love the like private, if they do any like private vows or first looks.
Ooh, okay.
Those are
I'm
also
such
really
a sucker
good.
for those.
Yeah. Otherwise, I will always tear up at the father-daughter dances. Oh, yeah. I think being a parent, I picture like Daniel and the girls. Mm-hmm. And so that's
me with the mother-son dance.
Yeah. Or grandparents taking pictures of things.
Yes.
I love taking pictures of grandparents taking pictures of things.
Does it bother you?
No.
You already know what I'm going to say. Does it bother you when people have their phones out?
No, it doesn't. It does not bother me. I think it's fun because like, I just picture them being so excited. Like it's their grandkid or it's their niece or it's their nephew. Like they want to take pictures too. And I'm not going to get in the way of that.
I feel like when I was a baby photographer, I would be like, you're dating their wedding photos. You're making this look like shit. Mm-hmm. And now I'm looking at it from a different perspective of they are beyond proud.
It's their day too.
Let them have their moment too. Mm-hmm. Like, even though like sometimes it is just pure obnoxion. They want to have their something to post on Instagram but other times it's just an excited grandparent that's literally taking 3 seconds to snap a photo and you'll never see their phone.
Yes. I love it. There are the exceptions. I've had people like shoot over my shoulder before.
Like, of course there's exceptions, but for the most part, it doesn't bother me anymore.
It does not bother me at all.
Okay, so I have like a turnaround question. What is like, if you were to do a full overview of your process, what you do with every single client, what does your turnaround look like? How do you turn around sessions, weddings, while also balancing family life?
Yeah, so I first, like from the point of inquiry, I feel like most of the inquiries I get, I mesh really well with because my branding and everything. So it's not very often that I get an inquiry that I'm like, oh, I don't think we're a good fit. So then I hop on a consult call with them. We chat about all the details, what package is going to work for them, their vision for their day, what they're looking for, all of that. And then once they book, that's when we plan their engagement session. Like I said, all my couples I have engagement sessions with, I tell them it's my favorite part because it's the only time that we get to hang out and get to know each other before the wedding day. And so then when I show up on the wedding day, we're like friends, you know, we're like, okay, we're comfortable. We know each other. This is how it's going to go. And so, and then after that, I always tell my couples, like, there's a little bit of a break in the process. There's not too much for us to do up until about 3 months before the wedding. So 3 months beforehand, that's when I will send out that questionnaire and give them the option to hang out, meet in person, and go over all the timeline details. Those family formal groupings. Are you doing a first look? Are you not doing a first look? Are you having a mass? Are you not having a mass? Are you having a party bus? A lot of people don't even know what that is. If you're not from the Midwest.
If you're from the Midwest, you know.
If you know, you know. And so just going over all of those things. And then after the wedding day, my turnaround going into 2025 is now 4 weeks.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Pause. Do you feel like people value a quicker turnaround time?
Yes.
And like, do you feel like you have like implemented that into your business? Like, do you know for sure, like, I need to make sure I have childcare so that I can get these galleries out?
Yeah, for sure. I think it'll be the test too this summer, like being a lot more busy this year with having all the kids home. But I also, like I said, having Daniel home too, I think I will still be able to kind of see if, okay, do I need like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to work, and then I can have other days off, or I'm going to take like a couple hours every day to work. I haven't fully decided, and I guess I'll see this summer of kind of how that balances out.
You also said something, you tell your couples, and like, I just wanted to like backtrack just slightly. You said something like, I tell my couples like, hey, just so you know, there's a break in the process. So you are constantly communicating with your couples.
Oh, always.
So like
they know every step before it happens.
Okay, cool. I love that though, because like, I feel like that's not something a lot of photographers do. They just be like, here's the contract you signed. See you in 9 months.
No. And I even have emails that are automated that I send out without even my approval, because, in like my CRM, it'll like import, like put in their name and put in all this stuff. And so it'll send out like 100-day check-in, like, hey, and there are some things where I'm like that one, 100 days out from your wedding. If you have any like images you love or things off of Pinterest, like attach them to an email and send them to me, and we can start collecting some. So like
you've
vibes.
Really mapped out your process from the moment your client reaches out to you to the middle ground, to the end, to even afterwards, because you still keep in contact with your clients after their wedding day, because of course you want 4-week turnaround time. But then I'm curious, does that stop there? Do you do more with your clients? Like what can your typical wedding client expect from you? Yeah.
So I talk with them beforehand, up through then, and then I send out 2 emails after they get their gallery.
Ooh.
So after they get their gallery, I send out a review email. So that's how I get like Google reviews and different things like that. After that, they get another referral email. So if they refer any of their friends to book a wedding with me, they get a free anniversary session.
I love that. I love that because one, you are keeping in contact with your client, but then you're also, from a marketing point of view, you're retaining your client. So you're not totally going out there to spend more money to get a new client. You're keeping your clients.
Right. Exactly.
I love that. Okay. Well, okay. So this episode has been like all over the place, but like, I feel like it's been so full of information from just like a traditional wedding photographer's point of view, between like what you do with your clients and everything from before they reach out to after they reach out. And I feel like there's so much information in here that you guys can take and be like, oh, I should try that in my business. So Alex, can you just tell people where they can find you, everything, all your deets?
Yes. Yeah. So you can find me at Alex McCrary Photography. And then that last name is a little tricky. MCCRARY.
I'm not going to lie. I've misspelled your last name. I don't know how many times.
So that is like my Instagram. And then my website is also the same thing, alexmccraryphotography.com.
Well, and we will put it in the show notes.
Yes, yes.
Alrighty, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please always feel free to reach out to us. Send us DMs. We want to hear your questions, whether we can make a full podcast episode about it or just talk to you, back and forth in the DMs.